So guys, we have some sad news that Kanye West appears to be dropping out of the 2020 presidential campaign. Now, it hasn't been formally announced yet, but according to New York Magazine and The Intelligencer and many other sources, Kanye hasn't been able to get on the ballot in key states like Florida. He hasn't really been able to amass all of the signatures, and when push comes to shove, it doesn't appear like his campaign is ever going to get off the ground in this cycle. As I noted in my first video on this topic, which some people were like, why are you even covering this obviously not real presidential campaign? I never actually expected Kanye West to run for president in 2020, to actually get on ballots and win significant amounts of votes, let alone win states and win counties and things like that, win electoral college votes. But as I noted, this mattered because of all the discourse we saw. The fact that lots of people, millions of people over the last week or so, talked about Kanye 2020, Vision 2020, means it matters. Famous people, regular people, people within and outside of politics couldn't ignore this story. And that means that there's something happening here. And I have to say, as somebody who would probably never ever vote for Kanye, what we've learned over the past couple weeks, given his quote unquote run for president, has actually been quite interesting. First, some of the polling done indicates that not only is Kanye West polling at 2%, which is of course not nothing, 2% is a lot of people when you're running for president, but that puts him ahead of many key independents and even some third-party candidates, showing that at least at some level, maybe people were trolling a little bit, there was some interest tentatively in Kanye running. But what I think was really crucial was that it sort of tore down some misconceptions about how a Kanye candidacy would run. A lot of Biden supporters were very worried. A lot of high-profile people like Deborah Messing and so many others were trying to mock Kanye or bully him into not running, saying that all you're going to do is hurt progressives and hurt the African-American community, the black community, by running. But what we saw from the admittedly limited polling we've gotten from Kanye included is that narrowly he hurts Donald Trump and not Joe Biden. That if this polling company, when they did a poll, they showed that Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, when you put Kanye in, Kanye actually increases the gap of support between Biden in first and Trump in second. It's not a huge difference either way, because again, he's only polling 2%. But in a narrow sense, he's making Trump weaker, not Biden. And I think that means that, Kanye running isn't necessarily the damaging shot at the Democratic campaign that a lot of Democratic aligned celebrities were worrying it was going to be. Now, of course, if we got more polling, it might have well been the case that it showed a more consistent trend, either pro-Biden or pro-Trump, in terms of how Kanye would affect the election. But the limited data we have is that it would have helped Biden. And I think it's very interesting because this brought up a really, really fascinating debate in American society. And a lot of people were saying, look, this is going to hurt the Democrats because it's going to pull black voters to, Kanye West from Joe Biden for the most part. And a lot of people, white people included, basically said he shouldn't run because those votes belong to the Democrats. Yet, what a lot of people said, and black people across the political spectrum said this, is that Joe Biden and the Democrats are not entitled to black votes. And if Kanye runs, you might deem it irresponsible. You might think his campaign is a joke. You might disagree with his policies. But when push comes to shove, if people vote for him, that's not their fault. That's not their fault. They should not be blamed. Who should take the blame is that the two quote-unquote serious candidates couldn't make a compelling case for those people's votes. And so it sort of reignited this discourse from a lot of society about who has to vote for whom, who is expected to vote for whom. You know, are African Americans dedicated to the Democratic Party? Do they have the right, quote unquote, to vote for somebody else? And according to the discourse from white elite, you know, anti-Bernie Sanders liberals like Deborah Messing, a lot of the center-right corporate Democratic Party, like Joe Biden did with Charlemagne the God, they seem to have this perceived ownership over the black community's vote. And Kanye West, you know, at least on perception, put that at risk. And of course, as the polling showed, it didn't necessarily do that, but it might have. So, one thing I want to close on, and I noted this in the previous video, I don't think this run was ever going to be serious. But if you don't think Kanye's going to run for office at some point, you're kidding yourself. He's definitely going to run. Remember that Donald Trump said he was going to run for president every 4 years, it seemed, for like more than a decade. Decades, Trump always said, I'm going to run for president. I'm going to shake things up. And everyone said, sure, Donald, we'll see you on the next season of Apprentice. And what happened? He ran for president, and my God, he won. Awful for America that he did win, but he won. He went through with it and he won. And so Kanye West, if he actually does it, man, the guy could be president. I'm not saying it's impossible, but this run was misguided. And of course, we could expect no other result than a quick dropout.